So, what's the system used in the California Legislature? After the bill's been introduced and in print, the Rules Committee of either the state Senate or the state Assembly refers the bill, to one or more policy committees. The referral to the Fiscal Committee is not done by the Rules Committee because the bill is already keyed fiscal by the Office of Legislative Counsel. Committees usually require some background paper or a worksheet, sometimes they call it, from the bill author's office. And of course, they receive support and opposition letters. And then the committee sets a bill for public hearing. It issues a committee analysis prior to the hearing. Sometimes bills are double or rarely triple referred, which means the measure has been assigned to two or possibly three committees because the subject matter of the bill is within the jurisdiction of one or more policy committees. If the bill fails passage in the first committee, then it's not ever considered by the second committee. In addition, bills that have a fiscal impact are required to be heard by the Fiscal Committee, which we call the Appropriations Committee in both the Assembly and the Senate. And those committee hearings occur prior to the bill reaching the floor of the Assembly or Senate. Note that all committee bill actions are recorded by roll call vote and then reported to the full House on a formal committee report, which is published in the Assembly Daily Journal, of course, for Assembly committees, and the Senate Daily Journal, naturally, for Senate committees. A committee can take action on a bill in several ways, including amending it, passing it, defeating it, or holding it in committee. A bill that's reported out of committee is with or without amendments. When the bill comes out of the policy and the fiscal committee, the bill is placed on the second reading file for the adoption of the committee's action, and it could be also the committee's action was one or more amendments. A bill that is reported out of committee and to the floor with amendments must remain on second reading for 2 days before it moves on to the third reading file. If a bill is reported out of committee to the floor without amendments with a due pass recommendation, then the bill is on second reading for 1 day, and then it gets moved to the third reading file. A bill that is amended and re-referred to another committee appears on the second reading file for just 1 day, wherein the amendments are officially adopted, and the bill is then removed from the daily file and re-referred to that second or even third committee. In terms of the committee operation, a committee must be established by a quorum, and that quorum is required for the committee to conduct official business. Until the quorum is established, a committee is allowed to operate as a subcommittee, but they can't take any formal action on any legislative measure. A majority of the committee's membership constitutes a quorum, and of course, a majority vote of the full committee is required to pass a bill on. In order to amend a bill, on the other hand, a majority of those present and voting is required. And finally, committees of the legislature, both in the Senate and the Assembly, are allowed to adopt their own committee rules, so long as those are, of course, consistent with the joint rules of the Senate and Assembly, and of course, consistent with the individual House rules, either the Assembly rules or the Senate rules.